And welcome to a new Energy Crew podcast. I'm your host, JP Warren. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in. And again, this is another a new series, I guess, of Energy Crew podcast, all about where you put your energy. I want to make sure you're putting your energy in the right places. This one, so part of my journey of being a coach is sharing with those out there things that have helped me. Because things that have helped me, whether it's starting a company, things what I notice when I see other professionals try to achieve. And honestly, this one kind of hits close to home because I'm going to talk to you. I think I spent the last podcast talking to you about my experience with imposter syndrome and kind of how it restricted me, how it kind of held me back, and the challenges and the struggles that I face. Honestly, I'm going to talk to you kind of today on the other side of that coin, the brighter side of that coin, on the benefits that when I really started taking my imposter syndrome serious, and when I really started kind of looking into my limiting beliefs and kind of why am I always self-doubting myself? Why can I never feel achievement? Why can't I feel success? Well, why does everything have to be perfect? Why am I so controlling? Why this? Why that? When I started compounding all these traits, I started kind of I needed to look into myself a little more. I needed to find out what was going on. And this episode will be kind of a journey for those out there, and also for me to kind of share a brief kind of tip of the iceberg experience when it comes to me kind of dealing with my own imposter syndrome. So I guess, from the last podcast, we all knew what was going on. We knew that, I started my company 2 years ago. I was a constant stress ball. I wasn't fun to be around with. You can ask my wife about that. I was constantly stressed, waking up in the morning. So I really kind of started getting real serious about looking at, my imposter syndrome and kind of why was I being driven by these fear-based emotions, by anxiety, by perfectionism, by not professionalism, perfectionism. That's a chismism. Um, by my isolation, by my self-doubt. Why was I being driven by these bullshit emotions that did not serve me, that didn't help anything? That would constantly, I would be spending time away from my daughter. I mean, we have my wife and I have my daughter, half the time, and the last day I'd be spending time away from her, doing bullshit work. I would find myself, hey, look, if I was in front of the computer, typing away, doing something, staying busy, then I was accomplishing something. I had to do that. If not, I would fail. And I don't want to fail. But then again, so anyway, so look, I'm going to get into kind of where I was and then what happened when I started kind of pursuing me stopping and reducing and reframing my imposter syndrome, my limiting beliefs. I guess, starting off my career, when I was, 25, 26, my limiting beliefs were pretty much, there was other people getting promoted, other people making more money than me, other people, moving up the ranks faster. I always equated that. My limiting beliefs were kind of fine. I was like, well, you have to be lucky. You have to know the right people. You have to be in the right shoes. I know that's kind of true, However, I never thought to myself, well, why can't I be that lucky person? Why can't I be in those shoes? I just accepted. It was a period of accepting my limiting beliefs. However, that beast, and again, if you catch the first episode where I talked about imposter syndrome, I named my imposter syndrome. For those of you out there that have seen What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, Colin Robinson, the energy vampire. That is my imposter syndrome. That's what I think of when this dude starts barking up saying, hey, you can't do this. Hey, you sure you want to send this out? Don't post that yet. Make sure it's perfect. Spend another 30 minutes on that and not with your daughter to make sure that color is perfect on that graphic you're going to post on social media that someone's going to see for maybe 4 seconds. So, okay. So probably when my imposter syndrome really started kind of taking shape, Colin Robinson really started taking shape, probably I want to say about a year ago. That's when kind of my wife, she kind of, I was having these constant conversations with her saying, oh, like, I think we're going to be okay. I think the company is going to be okay. I think it's valuable now. I was kind of doubting the value of what I was doing. I was doubting kind of everything. And it was always one of those like pep talks that I'm sure it doesn't sound fun to pep talk someone who always has self-doubt. Like, oh, you sure it's going to be good? It's like, yeah, it's going to be fine. Like, can we do something else have this worrying self-doubt talk. Husband, okay, honey. So I really started kind of looking into this probably about last year, probably about this time, and it was interesting. It was one of those things where at first I had to realize I just set several things down. Number one, that I was not my imposter syndrome. The feelings that I had that I wasn't good enough, that things had to be perfect, that I was lucky. I really wasn't offering anything. Shit, I wrote a kid's book that I published and I was proud of and all this, and I put it out there, and it was very well received. And I could not feel any sort of positive emotion that was attached to that. I could not feel any success. I could not feel any pride. And it was this like, oh, it was more like, okay, what else do I have to do? What else can I do to prove to everyone that I'm worthy? And I really started kind of looking into this, and obviously, I had to separate myself from Colin Robinson. I had to realize that my imposter syndrome, my limiting beliefs, they weren't me. That was just some shit that was ingrained in me, probably from my childhood. All of our parents probably do the best that they can. I'm not taking anything from my parents, but again, that's something. I'm sure I'm doing something to my daughter where she's gonna grow up. She's like, man, I wish my dad did. But look, I'm trying my best too. So I had to realize that my inability to feel success, and inability to feel achievement stemmed from my childhood. And again, that's something that, like, look, at the end of the day, that is what it is. Like, I'm not going to go back and change, but who can I change today? Me. I can change me today, not me back then, or my parents back then, or whoever back then, or my coach back then who probably didn't pick me first, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. I'm looking at myself right now and saying, hey, look, Colin Robinson, you're not a part of me now. Once I separated myself from Colin Robinson and started doing, and again, this is all part of the coaching program that I put together. And again, I just got certified coaching. I'm super excited to get involved. And I think part of the process of me actually helping others out there is me sharing my story with imposter syndrome and self-limiting beliefs, and how I pushed through, not only pushed through, but how I conquered it and how I still conquer it on a daily basis. And yeah, so man, that's why I hate doing this live stuff, because I really forget where I was. But I had to separate myself from my imposter syndrome, my Colin Robinson. And once I started doing that, I started kind of taking a personal accountability on things, where I was at with my life, because there was no one else to blame. It couldn't be my imposter syndrome. It couldn't be Colin Robinson. It couldn't be my dad. Couldn't be my mom. Couldn't be my coach. Couldn't be anyone growing up. It had to be me. I was in control of kind of who I was at that moment. So first thing first, separate my imposter syndrome. And I had to realize, I had to tell myself, and I still tell myself this to this day, that I am not those limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs aren't attached to me. That's just some narrative BS that started kind of spinning in my mind that's stuck. So it's time to kind of like shave that callus off and not think like that anymore. All right. I started working on myself. And what did that look like? I went from the hustle mindset, where I always had to be busy, where I always had to be constantly around things, doing work, pumping out emails, doing graphics. Hey, I had a free day. Hey, you're an entrepreneur. That's what you're supposed to do, is have free days and chill. But no, I wasn't chilling at all. Any free time that I had, I was plugged in front of my computer on Canva, brainstorming, dreaming, whiteboard. I was bringing work from behind the computer constantly to the dinner table. I was bringing work constantly to my family, the stress, the anxiety, everything, to the hustle constantly. I couldn't turn it off. That was the perfectionism in me. That was the, hey, JP, if you stop, that was Colin Robinson saying, hey, JP, if you stop working, then you're going to fail. And guess what? Your competition is going to get ahead of you. Okay. Thanks, Colin. You weren't invited here anyway. So, I was waking up extremely early. I was stressed out. I wasn't really, connected to my wife, connected to my daughter. And, we had Saturdays and Sundays, and they'd be playing, and I'd be like on the couch with them, or wherever with them, but I'd be on my computer. And again, that was something that, like, I didn't like that feeling, but I felt like I had to do it. I didn't like being always attached to my computer, but I had to do it. I didn't like always talking about work, but I had to do it. My imposter syndrome was telling me, you better keep talking about it. You better stay stressed about it. You better not enjoy any feeling of achievement, success, or calmness, because that's when you know that you're a fraud. Everyone's going to find out that point. You better stay hustling. All right. So again, couldn't identify with my successes and all that stuff. So after my wife finally got tired of me having these same conversations, that kind of spurned out of the blue. When it was a nice afternoon, I just kind of sit up, I'd go stare off in the distance, be like, "Uh-oh, what is that, honey? We're gonna be okay, right? I mean, this is why. So we got this going, we got crew club happening, crew club's good." And finally, she's like, "Stop! You really have to face what's going on here." So I started to face what's going on, and that's kind of so it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't suitable for me to stay in this stressed ball zone. And again, I visualized just being like a stressed ball. For a long period of time, it wasn't sustainable. So I had to really take a look at myself and kind of find out what I was doing to, number one, avoid or shut Colin Robinson down the unhealthy way. And I was drinking, I was boozing a lot. There was no, what are you going to do? It's, my, crew club is, hosting events. It's hosting these little intimate, private, exclusive networking events. And that's what you do there. So I really started thinking about that. That wasn't sustainable for me to continue drinking at these things. So I started taking myself serious. I started kind of realizing like I did have value to this. This wasn't just people getting together and having whatever. So what happened when I really started focusing on attacking my self-beliefs? And this, again, this isn't a pitch, but this does tie into my coaching program, my coaching journey, and what I want to do to help people, because I've been there. I've been through that mud. I've been through that rut of waking up early, constantly being stressed, can't get out of my own way. Not getting out of your own way is the most frustrating things. So what happened when I really started facing my imposter syndrome? When I started, and the whole point of my coaching thing is reducing your imposter syndrome and reframing it. And this microphone is so weird. I have to go like hide to go. So it focuses on reducing your imposter syndrome and reframing it. All right. The first thing, when I started reducing it, I started kind of putting more weight, more cargo onto the cruise. I started believing it a little bit more. I realized that, hey, look, I started kind of putting down evidence-based reasons why I was where I was at. Before I was faking it, before I was a fraud, before I was getting by on, smoke and mirrors, I started putting evidence based on what I was doing. No, this many people are coming to your events, this level of people, this people want, I started providing evidence on where I was at because of what I was doing. Again, then I shifted into the reframing everything. And so what happened? So once I really started diving into this journey of identifying limiting beliefs, reducing it and reframing it, I stopped drinking. Last February, probably the end of February, I just decided to, hey, look, it's not serving me. I'm waking up with anxiety. I have 2 or 3 events a week. I can't keep entertaining, drinking, and doing this that much. I can't keep doing this with all this self-doubt in me, with all these limiting beliefs and this voice, Colin Robinson, telling me that I'm faking it, that I'm a fraud, that I'm a phony, that I'm a piece of shit. All this stuff that my imposter syndrome was telling me started going away when I quit drinking. Now here's, don't get me wrong, I'm not on top. Hey, you need to quit drinking too. Not at all. This is my personal story. Y'all do y'all's own story. No, don't get me wrong. I'll still have a martini every now and then, but it's probably on a special occasion. It's probably very rare that I'll have a cocktail or a glass of wine or something like that. Only if it comes to this, but that's once every 4, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe. But yeah, so anyway, so quit nicotine. I was a huge Zen dude and hitting that jewel. But again, that was part of, the behind the scenes stuff. I would cope. It was my nervous tick and all stuff. Quit that. Once I started kind of facing it again and reframing it, I started kind of getting more confidence. I started getting more motivation. I started kind of believing, I guess, in myself a little bit more. So I not only quit all that bad stuff for me, I started doing good stuff for me too. I started this besides the morning, but I'll get into the business stuff, not my morning routines and all that stuff. But I started another company, Exec Crew. Where's Exec Crew? Exec Crew. I started Exec Crew. And that's something that's kicking off in January 2024. But again, I would have done that if I an executive crew No way would I have believed that I could do that if I was listening to my Colin Robinson for the past, 3 years. No way I would have said, yeah, let me get around a room full of executives and founders, and all that I'm organizing because I'm not a fraud. No, I started believing myself. Let me do this. Not only that, I pursued a coaching certificate. So I believed in myself. And before, I mean, who was I to talk to a CEO about how they navigate themselves or how they run a company or how they manage a team? Who was I to chat with any founders about what they're going through or anything like that, or guide? Who was I to coach anyone? Um, this is like a one person shop. Like, who am I to coach anyone about leadership? However, I talked to Joe Sinnott. I talked to a couple other people, and again, I reduced Colin Robinson saying, "Hey, look, you have no business coaching people," and I reframed that, saying, "No, you actually do. You've been there. You're vulnerable. You can connect with people, and contrary to what my wife thinks, I'm a good listener too." So I pursued my coaching certificate, and that was a 6 month process, and I just this past week got certified, graduated. With Crew Club, I put together a newsletter. Why? Why is that a big deal? Because before I thought no one really gave a shit what I had to say. Before I thought no one really cared what any of this. And regardless if anyone cares or not, I'm still doing it. You know what? It's one of those things where it's like I believe in myself enough where I'm just going to do it. And if one person likes it, great. If no one likes it, that's probably not going to happen. But if one person likes it, I'll take it. What else? I can't even read this. I pursue my coach to energy crew. Oh, I started this podcast up again. Before I kind of let this podcast. Again, sitting behind the mic, talking to people, talking to strangers, and all that stuff. It's very time consuming. It's fun. It's very time consuming though, but it's also one of those things too. It's like you really kind of have to believe in yourself that other people want to hear you talk. Again, I started this up. Not only that, what am I doing these past 3 podcasts? I'm having these ones where I don't have a guest on. It's just me talking. And again, I've become comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's something that I try to teach my daughter. That's something I try to tell a lot of people. Get uncomfortable. It's okay. It's okay. The worst thing that can happen is you learning to embrace being uncomfortableness. And think about that. So anyway, I don't think I would be where I'm at if I did not, first off, without my wife getting tired of me and telling me, hey, look, you need to start facing this. You do need to start facing what's going on with you. But why am I so passionate about helping others when it comes to imposter syndrome and their limiting beliefs, like reducing the limiting beliefs, and not only that, reframing what their self-talk. I'm passionate about that because it works. It matters. I'm thinking about this. I was talking to my wife. I'm like, oh, how do I communicate the emotions with, sometimes people don't like talk about emotions. How do I communicate the emotions, from imposter syndrome to, I guess, where it kind of makes business sense, where it makes economic sense? Well, I guess the best way to say is this: if I was in a room and, I was, leading a boardroom and I have, 10 people in the room, well, statistically speaking, 7 out of 10 of those people have some sort of self-limiting beliefs that are not allowing them to achieve the levels that they could. Why not introduce ways for people to reduce the self-limiting beliefs and increase how they reframe their personal self-talk? It's helped me out tremendously to the point where I was just going Crew Club, just doing dinners, just having cocktails every night, just coasting by. Once I started really identifying my limiting beliefs, I was able to look at myself. I was able to set goals, achieve goals, continue pushing myself, and not in a way that was. And before, my motivation before was for people to feel, oh my God, this guy's a fraud. I better start doing more stuff. No, my motivation now is more, I know I can do more. I know because I believe in myself versus I don't believe in yourself. You better keep putting shit out there. So again, this was a wonderful journey for me. And it's also one of those things where it's like, I'm still battling this, but it's a lot more fun now. I've been a lot more kind to myself mentally, and honestly, it's worked. I remember, again, I just shared this story in the last podcast, but it's such a perfect example because this whole program, this IS to the I am journey, this imposter syndrome to the I am journey, this thing that you crew is creating, that I'm building, is something that's helped me. I mean, I'm living proof of it. I remember it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I was in, again, for those watching right there, I was in a lobby. I was out of my zone. I was a small fish, big pond, no business being there. I immediately recognized Colin Robinson when he walked in that door. When he walked down, sat next to me and started yapping in my ear. You're not ready for this, JP. Hey, you're not good enough. Get out of here, you fraud. You're going to fail. These people talk to presidents and CEOs all day long. But hey, I stopped myself. I was able to identify Colin Robinson, my imposter syndrome. And I was able to immediately shift, provide evidence, personal evidence why I was there. Not only that, I took that imposter syndrome and turned it to the I am. I am ready for this. I am a badass. I am invited here. I am their guest that they want me to be here. That changed my attitude, my confidence, my being assertive in the meeting. Me walking through that door in that meeting had a completely different energy, completely different vibe, because I was able to stop myself and reframe my imposter syndrome. So I know that's a lot, but I want to thank y'all for kind of hearing that and hearing me, I guess, ramble for another 21 minutes. But I'm really enjoying it. And again, that was part of my journey when I'm dealing with my self-limiting beliefs. And again, I'm there to help others now face theirs and battle theirs and beat their limiting beliefs, beat their imposter syndrome, so that they can achieve the goals that they want to achieve their aspirations. So I guess if you're sitting there listening to this, grab a sheet of paper, honestly think about this. If you were to identify your self-limiting beliefs, the voice in your head that says, hey, you're not good enough, or you shouldn't be here, or hey, you're a fraud, what would that thing look like? What would that person look like? Name it, because it's not you. Give it a name, give it its own voice. And whenever you start hearing that, put those thoughts in that voice, because it's not you. I always talking, it could be, the Danny DeVito and the Penguin, Colin Robinson. That's mine. Feel free to take that too. But what annoying character, because it is annoying. All right, let's not make this like Henry Cavill walking in and being like, you're not good enough. Like, damn right, Henry, I'm not. But take someone that's annoying. That is your imposter syndrome, because your imposter syndrome is not you. It's just that annoying little thing that's kind of grown, that's attached to you. Time to sever it. So thank y'all for tuning in, Energy Crew. I want y'all to put y'all's energy in yourself in the right way, and we appreciate everything. Talk to you soon.